Are you curious about the biggest money mistakes of the past 40 years? Together, we will dive into the dynamic world of personal finance to avoid said mistakes. Our voyage sails off in the vibrant 80s, grooves into the dot-com boom of the 90s, takes a stark plunge into the housing market of the 2000s, and valiantly tackles the student loan tsunami of the 2010s. Most recently, we'll dissect the financial predicaments triggered by the 2020s pandemic. This isn't simply a stroll down memory lane. It's about unmasking the major missteps that have staggered personal finance during our mission. To extract insights from our past blunders to navigate tomorrow's financial maze with more confidence and fewer falls. So, fasten your seatbelts as we time warp back to the 1980s. The 1980s, a time of big hair, bold fashion, and even bolder financial decisions. This decade was marked by a surge in consumer debt, a phenomenon fueled by the rise of credit cards. As these small plastic rectangles became ubiquitous, they brought with them a perilous pitfall: high interest rates. For the uninitiated, these rates acted as a silent predator, creeping up on spenders and gnawing away at their financial stability. Simultaneously, a culture of living beyond one's means began to take root. As conspicuous consumption became the order of the day, many found themselves falling into a debt trap, ensnared by the lure of instant gratification. Unchecked, this debt began to grow, feeding off interest and late fees, becoming a monstrous burden for many. In retrospect, the 80s painted a vivid picture of the dangers of debt. It showcased the catastrophic fallout of unchecked spending and the silent but deadly bite of high interest rates. And thus, the 80s taught us the perilous consequences of unchecked debt. As we drive into the 90s, we encounter the intoxicating allure of the dot-com bubble. This decade was marked by an unprecedented hype around technology stocks. It was a time when the internet was growing rapidly, and investors, both seasoned and novice, were caught in a frenzied rush to invest in anything with a .com in its name. This irrational exuberance led to skyrocketing stock prices, with many tech companies commanding massive valuations despite having no profits, or, in some cases, even a viable product. It was a classic case of speculation over substance. But as with all bubbles, the dot-com bubble eventually burst, causing a market crash and wiping out billions in investor wealth. The 90s serve as a stark reminder of the dangers of getting caught up in investment fads, of the perils of following the herd without due diligence. The 90s, a stark reminder of the dangers of herd mentality in investing. The new millennium brought with it a new set of challenges, the most significant being the housing market crash. The early 2000s saw a boom in housing prices fueled by subprime mortgages, loans given to borrowers with poor credit. Lenders, eager to profit, overlooked the risks and packaged these risky loans into mortgage-backed securities. Investors, lured by high returns, snapped them up. But when borrowers began defaulting on their loans, the housing market crashed, sparking a global recession. The fallout was catastrophic, with millions losing their homes and jobs. This period underscored the pitfalls of risky investments and the danger of speculation. It highlighted the importance of understanding one's investments rather than blindly following the crowd. It also emphasized the dangers of over-leveraging, as many who had borrowed heavily to invest in the housing market found themselves in financial ruin. The 2000s served a bitter lesson on the risks of speculation and over-leveraging. The 2010s, a decade marred by the growing specter of the student loan crisis. This era saw student loan debt skyrocket to unprecedented levels. Millions of young adults found themselves saddled with heavy debts, the cost of an education that promised prosperity but often delivered financial strain instead. High education costs became a major pitfall for many, significantly impacting personal finance. The burden of these loans often deferred dreams of home ownership, starting a family, or embarking on entrepreneurial ventures. Many found their credit scores impacted, their disposable income reduced, their financial independence delayed. Yet this crisis also highlighted the importance of financial planning, the need to weigh the costs and benefits of an expensive education, to explore alternatives, to save early, to understand the implications of debt. The 2010s were a stark reminder that education is an investment, one that requires careful planning and consideration. The 2010s, a decade that underscored the need for sound financial planning. Fast forward to the present decade, the 2020s, a time defined by a global pandemic. This era has seen an unprecedented challenge to personal finance, as the COVID-19 pandemic swept across the globe, causing financial instability and upheaval. People who once felt secure in their finances found themselves grappling with job loss, reduced income, and mounting bills. This decade has starkly highlighted the importance of an emergency fund, a financial safety net that could help cushion the blow of unexpected life events. Yet the pitfall of not having such a reserve has been painfully evident. Many struggled to stay afloat, their lack of savings leaving them ill-prepared for the economic shock that the pandemic brought. The rise of emergency funds during this time underscores their value in personal finance. They serve as a buffer, providing financial resilience against unforeseen circumstances. The ongoing decade reminds us of the crucial role of an emergency fund in personal finance. And here we are, back in the present, armed with the lessons of the past. We've journeyed through 4 decades of financial pitfalls, each one unique, each one a learning experience. The 80s taught us the dangers of debt, reminding us to live within our means. The 90s and the dot-com bubble cautioned us about the risks of speculation and the importance of a well-diversified portfolio. The housing market crash of the 2000s served as a stark reminder of the volatility of markets, prompting us to always conduct thorough research. The student loan crisis of the 2010s highlighted the increasing burden of education costs, urging us to consider alternative pathways. Finally, the pandemic era of the 2020s emphasized the necessity of robust emergency funds and careful financial planning. As we venture into the future, let these lessons guide our financial decisions, helping us navigate the uncertain seas of personal finance with confidence and wisdom.